Hi, my name is Amar and I welcome you to the brand new series of Flutter Bloc and Cubit tutorial. Now first of all I will start with block and after that I will move to Cubit. Then I will discuss what is the difference between block and Cubit and when to use block and when to use Cubit. In this video I will give a brief introduction about block. So what is block? Block stands for business logic component. It is a design pattern that helps to manage the state of the application in a clean and scalable way. It allows us to separate the business logic with the presentation layer. Presentation layer means the UI. Now, block is based on event-driven architecture. What does this mean? This means the UI layer will send the event to the block. The block processes those events and updates the state. And after that it notifies the UI layer about the state changes. This means we can say that event, block and state are the major components of block design pattern. Now let me elaborate this with an example in the next slide. As you can see here that in this diagram there is a UI. Suppose in this UI there is a button. And whenever this button will be clicked, at that time we will fetch a list of product. Now, whenever the user clicks on the button, this means the event is generated. As you can see in the diagram, there is an arrow. So, event is generated. Now, this event will tell the block that the user wants a list of product. Now, what the block will do? The block will request the data from the data layer. Correct. After that, the block will receive the response from the data layer, either success or failure. After that, the block will update the state to the UI because the UI listens to all the state and it will rebuild to display the list of the product if the state is success, or it will display the error if the state is failure. This is how block actually works. Now, what are the advantages of block? The first one is separation of concerns. Now, block allows us to separate the business layer and the UI layer, and thus making our code modular and maintainable. The second advantage is reusability. Now, block logic is encapsulated within the block class and thus allows us to reuse the same logic across the different parts of the application. The third advantage is testability. We can do the unit testing of the business logic independent of UI. The fourth advantage is maintainability. Now, separation of concerns, reusability and testability allows us to create the code structure which is easier to maintain for a larger application. And the last one is community support. The block has a large community and thus makes it easier for the developer to find help online. These are the advantages of block design pattern. Now, what are the disadvantages? The first one is learning curve. It has a steeper learning curve when compared to other state management libraries like GetX. And it has boilerplate code. This means we need to, as I told you, that the block has three major components, that is event, block and state. And we need to write considerable amount of code while creating these block classes, event and state. So these are the two main disadvantages of block. Now, what is Flutter Bloc? Now, Flutter Bloc is actually a package in Flutter that provides powerful Flutter widgets for implementing the block design pattern. And what are the widgets that we get from this package? The first one is block builder. Then we have block selector, block provider, multi-block provider, block listener, multi-block listener, block consumer, repository provider, multi-repository provider. These are the widgets which we get from this package, and I will discuss each and every widget in detail. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching.